After leading a huge multi-country yoga celebration at the UN headquarters in New York, Indian Prime Minister is now in Washington, D.C. It's a packed schedule for him on Thursday. He is scheduled to hold bilateral talks with President Joe Biden, address a joint session of the U.S. Congress, and attend a state dinner at the White House. The U.S. capital city has rolled out the red carpet for Prime Minister Modi. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden welcomed the Indian Prime Minister at the White House. Biden is aiming to tighten his relationship with the leader of a nation seen as a pivotal force in Asia for decades to come. The pomp-filled state visit marks their 10th meeting since Biden came into office. The Bidens hosted a private dinner for Prime Minister Modi at the White House. Washington wants New Delhi to be a strategic counterweight to none other than China and sees India as a critical partner here. Prime Minister Modi is seeking to raise the influence that India has on the world stage. On Thursday, Prime Minister Modi will be welcomed with full military honours at the White House. He will then hold the crucial bilateral talks with President Joe Biden, which the entire world is waiting to hear more from. After which, the two leaders are expected to address a press conference and take questions. Now, in the evening, the Prime Minister is scheduled to address the joint session of the US Congress. He is the first Indian Prime Minister to do so twice. The Prime Minister will conclude his day with a state dinner at the White House hosted by the Bidens. All right, now let's take you through the likely deliverables of the state visit. Quoting sources, news agency Reuters stated that the US is set to ease visas for skilled Indian workers as PM Modi visits. The State Department could announce that some Indians and other foreign workers on the H-1B visas will be able to renew those visas in the US without having to travel abroad. Indian citizens are by far the most active users of the US H-1B program. They made up 73% of the nearly 442,000 H-1B workers in fiscal year 2022. On the agenda of the state visit is expanding bilateral cooperation in the defense industry and high-tech sectors. India is expecting to get access to critical American technologies that Washington rarely shares even with its allies. A deal for General Electric to produce engines for fighter jets on Indian soil is also on the cards. Another expected announcement is India's purchase of 31 armed MQ-9B Sea Guardian drones made by General Atomics, worth $3 billion. The world's two largest democracies are also likely to make announcements on climate. It's an area where there have been varied opinions on the responsibilities of developed versus developing countries. Now, on the 23rd of June, the Indian Prime Minister will be hosted by US Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Washington and New Delhi have been moving closer for over 2 decades now. Successive US presidents have displayed bipartisan support for stronger ties with the emerging Asian powerhouse and regional power. President Joe Biden has built on that legacy and expanded cooperation even further. Our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal sends us this report from Washington, D.C. Take a look.
The official state visit of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has started. He will be accorded the Guard of Honor and hold talks with the US President Joe Biden on Thursday, and there will be a state dinner as well. But essentially this visit will see India and US cementing their relationship further. There are a lot of convergences from defense to critical technologies, and there will be big ticket announcements as well. But essentially both countries will be discussing convergences and divergences and global challenges and concerns like a rise of a very aggressive China. India has been dealing with aggressive China when it comes to its northern borders. When it comes to US, it has its own set of problems, and that of course has been part of the discussion between New Delhi and Washington, along with issues like counter-terrorism and situation in the wider Indo-Pacific. But all in all, an important visit of the Indian Prime Minister that started from New York, where the Indian Prime Minister led the Yoga Day celebration, and now it will be time for hard diplomacy here in Washington. Siddhant Sibal for WION at the White House.